The Philadelphia Eagles' newest offensive plan has leaked, and it should terrify opposing NFL defenses, as the Birds are set to add a new wrinkle into their offense that could make Saquon Barkley in the run game even more unstoppable. So, in this video, I'll break that down. Plus, Jalen Carter has put the NFL on notice, and one opposing coach believes the Eagles star could be destined for the Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, Jahan Dotson seems like he could possibly make a bigger impact than expected this season, while other Eagles have made recent headlines as well. So again, I'm going to talk about all that and more Eagles news starting right now. With nothing to really fill the void from now until the start of training camp in just a few weeks, we're at that time of the NFL offseason where we're starting to get a ton of player rankings from a bunch of different sources, whether it's the NFL Top 100, PFF, or the yearly list put together by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that ranks the top 10 players at each position according to NFL execs, coaches, and scouts. And of course, naturally, our Philadelphia Eagles are going to be featured very heavily on all these lists and rankings, as obviously the Super Bowl champions have one of the most talented and decorated rosters in the entire NFL. However, what they also have is one of the very best head coaches in the entire NFL in Nick Sirianni. As of course, in his 4 years so far leading Philadelphia's football team, Sirianni's made the playoffs in every single season while going to the Super Bowl twice and winning it once. And really, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because what Sirianni has done in 4 seasons as the Birds head coach is really nothing short of historic when you just take a step back and look at everything that he's accomplished so far. And that's not even mentioning the fact that he is easily one of the best leaders, motivators, and culture builders in the entire NFL. But even with all that, Sirianni still isn't getting the credit that he deserves. As in PFF's recent ranking of the league's top 10 coaches, written by Dalton Wasserman, Sirianni came in at just number 8. And look, that's not bad per se, but for a guy with a historic resume so far and a Super Bowl victory under his belt, which came just last season, I feel like at bare minimum, he at least deserves to be in the top 5, and personally, I would put him in the top 2, at least at this current moment, and I don't really think that's crazy to say. So again, the fact that PFF put him at number 8 behind guys that have never even won Super Bowls before or haven't accomplished anything in a very long time, I think is a little bit disrespectful, personally. Now, their ranking of the Birds secondary, on the other hand, I do think is a lot more fair, as once again, PFF's John Costco ranked Philly's DB unit 8th in the entire league, which I think at first glance, maybe that sounds a little bit low, but when you look at the teams ranked above them and also consider that the Birds did lose both Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson this offseason, leaving areas of uncertainty at 2 different spots, I actually think number 8 is a pretty fair ranking for them. Of course, Quinyon Mitchell, DeJean and Reed Blankenship are all phenomenal and carry them to this spot on the list in the first place, and I think given time, we could see the Birds secondary rise up the ranks this season if guys like Kelee Ringo, Andrew Mukuba, or Sidney Brown end up panning out. As far as the other position group rankings go, though, the Eagles received a lot of love as they were ranked towards the top in pretty much every single group by PFF, with their running back room being ranked 4th, their receiving core being ranked 1st, which I think is very well deserved, their defensive line being 2nd, and their linebacker room being ranked 1st as well. And then, of course, you can't forget about the Birds' offensive line, because real ones know that the Philadelphia Eagles wouldn't be nearly as good as they are without the big boys up front. So that's why it was just so awesome to see them actually get the credit they deserve in these rankings by PFF. As writer Zoltan Budeh ranked the Eagles as the number 1 offensive line in all of football, saying, quote, "The Eagles boast the NFL's best offensive tackle duo, featuring 2 players who rank at the top of their respective positions. Left tackle Jordan Mailata's 95.2 PFF overall grade in 2024 led all offensive tackles, while right tackle Lane Johnson's 88.9 mark placed 5th. There is some uncertainty along Philadelphia's interior following right guard Mekhi Becton's departure, but Landon, Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens remain to make this the best offensive line in football entering the 2025 season." And honestly, I don't think you can really argue with that. I mean, again, Jeff Statlin's unit is stacked with multiple All-Pros and Pro Bowlers. They got the best tackle duo in the league and stars at nearly every position, and they also got great depth, so it should come as no surprise to anyone that they're ranked number 1 on this list, and it's very well deserved as well. And I feel pretty much the exact same way about the other part of the Birds' elite run game in Saquon Barkley. As in Jeremy Fowler's annual poll of NFL coaches, executives, and scouts, they ranked Barkley as the #1 running back in all of football, citing his historic season last year where he put up over 2,000 yards rushing and the most total rushing yards in a season in NFL history, playoffs included. Well, he also just flat out led the NFL last year in a bunch of different categories. And the scary part is, Barkley still believes that some of his best years are yet to come.
I don't know how many touches I had or how many yards, but it doesn't feel like it. I feel really good. I feel like I'm entering in my prime. So just got to continue, have the mindset of listening to everyone, buying into what they want me to do, and whatever they do, try to do it to the best of my ability.
I've said this before, but if Barkley can find a way to somehow maintain the level of success that he had last year, or at least be in that same ballpark, then the NFL should be terrified, because they have no hope of stopping him. And again, his ranking at #1 on this list should come as no surprise and is very well deserved. And I also think his ranking as the 3rd best player in the entire NFL on CBS Sports' recent top 100 list is very well deserved too. And honestly, I think he very well has a case for the top spot, so we'll see what the NFL Top 100 has to say about that in just a few weeks. Circling back to Barkley and the Eagles' run game in general, though, I honestly do think there's a case to be made that it could be even more dangerous in 2025, and that's for one key reason. As this season, the Birds are planning to add a whole new element into their rushing attack that they kind of experimented with a little bit last year, that being the use of the fullback position with linebacker turned lead blocker and Ben VanSumeren. As if you'll remember, before we went down with a serious knee injury later in the season, BVS got into the game at fullback last year a handful of times, 22 snaps to be exact, and in those snaps, the Birds' ground game was extremely effective. And like Philly voice writer Jimmy Kempski pointed out in a recent article, it was hard not to notice how good VanSumeren was in that role. As if you watch the tape, his athleticism, his physicality, and just ability to get out in space, find a defender, and create running lanes is really, really impressive, especially for somebody who primarily played defense up until that point in his NFL career. And if you want to go by the numbers, the Eagles averaged over 6 yards per carry on run plays where VanSumeren was in as a lead blocker at fullback. So, in theory, given more snaps, that success will only continue, and VanSumeren can make the Eagles' rushing attack even more dangerous. And again, it seems like that's what's going to happen, as owner Jeffrey Lurie said earlier this offseason that the Eagles are planning to revive the fullback position, and Kempski predicted that BVS is going to get at least 100 snaps at that spot this season. Now look, I get it. What Saquon Barkley did last year was absolutely unheard of, and it's kind of unfair to expect that he's going to do the same thing this year after getting all those touches. But with the plan he and the Eagles have been following this offseason just to keep him fresh, along with the depth the Eagles have at running back with guys like Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon, along with the fact that pretty much the entire offensive line is returning, and with VanSumeren added more into the mix, again, I don't think it's that crazy to say that the Eagles' rushing attack could be even scarier in 2025. And honestly, I also could say the same thing about the Eagles' offense in general. I mean, think about it. Aside from their offensive coordinator, they essentially have the same exact offense that they did last season, as 10 of their 11 starters are returning. So, assuming Kevin Patullo works out, there's a really good reason to believe that the offense could take another step forward. And that's especially true if wide receiver Jahan Dotson is able to make a bigger impact in the passing game than he did last year. And John Stolnis of Bleeding Green Nation seemed to think that he can do just that, as he recently wrote an article going over 5 Eagles players he thinks can take a leap forward in their game this season, and that list includes guys like Kelee Ringo, Tyler Steen, Mora Jomo, and Jalix Hunt, all of which are guys I've talked about extensively in multiple previous videos. But the first guy he mentioned that could take a leap forward was none other than Jahan Dotson, with his reasoning being, quote, a former first-round pick, he has the ability to be the team's best number 3 receiver of the Sirianni Hurts era. He's never going to pile up yardage or receptions, but could be that security blanket / slot receiver the team has needed that Quez Watkins, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Julio Jones never became. Call it a hunch, but I think Dotson has earned Hurts' trust entering 2025 and doubles last year's receptions, 19, and yardage, 216, totals with a few more touchdowns this year too. And personally, I could not agree more with this take. I mean, like you said, Dotson's never going to put up big numbers in this Eagles offense, assuming everyone's healthy, just because that's just the nature of the role that he's in as this team's wide receiver 3, and at best, the 5th offensive option, maybe even 6th if you want to put Grant Calcaterra in there ahead of him. However, I do think given another year in the Eagles offense and a whole offseason to continue to build chemistry with the rest of the guys and just earn trust with Jalen Hurts, Dotson could put up bigger numbers than he did last year, specifically double those totals of 19 catches and 216 yards, and be the wide receiver 3 that Eagles fans have been wanting for years now. I mean, we saw it last season, like towards the end of the year, it's not like he was putting up crazy numbers, but he did make a couple impact catches in the playoffs, and it seemed like Jalen Hurts was going his way a little bit more. So again, I do think he can be that wide receiver 3 that we've been waiting for. But that said, what do you guys think? What are your expectations for Jahan Dotson in his second season in Philly? Moving on though, and getting back to some of the rankings from earlier, it was nice to see one of the Eagles' other biggest stars get their credit as well. That being defensive tackle Jalen Carter. As in Jeremy Fowler's survey of coaches, execs, and scouts, they ranked Carter as the 3rd best defensive tackle in all of football, citing that while his basic stats won't necessarily wow you, his impact on a game and ability to wreak havoc on an opposing offense is undeniable. And that becomes clear when you just watch him play. So again, I think this is very well deserved, and the only reason he's not even higher on the list is because of the fact that he's only 2 seasons into his career, and he doesn't have the experience or longevity of the other 2 guys that are ahead of him in the Giants' Dexter Lawrence and the Chiefs' Chris Jones. But given more time, I think he very well could pass them up as well. Because personally, I just think Carter still has so much room left to grow in his game, and one anonymous NFL veteran coach seems to agree with that, as he said, quote, "Young player with elite tools, elite instincts, and game-changing playability. Think the best is yet to come from him if he keeps his life in order, has Hall of Fame type ability and instincts." And again, personally, I could not agree more with that. I mean, I've said in the past that I think Carter has the potential to be a franchise cornerstone for the Eagles and be here for 10 plus seasons. And if he reaches his full potential, I think he could be a Hall of Famer and an all-time great Eagle. Now, obviously, that's a long ways away, and we can't really be focused on that right now, and it's kind of hard to also put expectations on him like that. But I do think that's the kind of player that Carter has the potential to become, and this season specifically, being his 3rd year and 2nd consecutive season in Vic Fangio's defense, I'm expecting Carter to have his best year yet and at least put up a career high in sacks. And I'm actually curious to know what you guys think as well, so drop your prediction for Jalen Carter's sack total in 2025 down in the comments below. Personally, I want to say he's going to end up with 8 sacks, but I very well could see him getting a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But again, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, so put those down in the comments below. And also, while you're at it, make sure you guys subscribe and you turn on notifications. That way you don't miss any other Eagles content or coverage when I upload it. Again, training camp is right around the corner, and I'm going to be covering that also. Again, make sure you get subscribed and you turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. And also, leave a like down below to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. See if we can get to at least 500 likes on today's video. And if you guys do want to watch another Eagles video going over some other news, particularly an exciting update that we got on rookie linebacker Jahad Campbell, then you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.